decade of the women entrepreneur. I mean, there is a lot of talk going on, there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of discussion, a lot of visibility for women entrepreneurs, and I think, our time is now to really seize this. And ASTIA is certainly really capitalizing on this and partnering with the many organizations that are also striving to even the playing field, if you will, provide additional capital, additional access to capital, of course, but also strategic partnerships and advisory work. There's many hurdles to getting to exit or to driving a successful company. Funding, of course, is one, but it's also the network, it's also the advisory services, and really understanding how you best position your company in the marketplace. So I would say that's the first trend. This is your time, and I would stand up and take advantage of it. That's not to say that it's not tremendously difficult. There's a lot of work that goes into entrepreneurialism, and what I love the most about the entrepreneurs that have gone through ASTIA is that they admit that. They say that it is tough, it's a slog, and it's a lot of hard work. One thing that, to the point of it doesn't take $20 million to start a company, you can start it on a very small amount of money, is that there's a lot more patience and tolerance for iterating and reiterating. So I tend to, in my experience of working with women entrepreneurs and investing with women entrepreneurs over the last several years, is that oftentimes we want it to be perfect. Forget it. Get it out there, get feedback, go back to the lab, redo it. Get it out there, get feedback. That's the way you're going to get yourself known, and that's the way you're going to get immediate feedback. And with technology today, the feedback loop is so much faster. So utilize that to your advantage. The other thing that I would say is, during these challenging times, really use your resources in your networks. It's really critical. Men do it all the time. To the men in the room, I commend you for being here. I'm sure many of us in this room have been the only females in the room before. So, I think we all recognize that it takes men and women to make things successful. And there are proven studies prove that the ROI in companies that have men and women in the boardroom are more successful and more profitable than companies without. So, and I think that's why it's really timely for us women right now, is because people recognize that. The companies are recognizing that. They want the talent. So, get out there, and I encourage you just to continue to have
Well, I've been doing venture capital for 30 years. I started in '81. I was at a big venture firm. Actually, it was tiny. Oak Investment Partners, when I joined it, had $25 million under management. It's now managing billions of dollars. The industry was expecting companies where there were always technology companies that were business selling to business. It needed about $20 to $25 million to get to profitability. You got the company so that you were about $100 million run rate, and one of 3 investment bankers took you public. Robinson Stevens, Hamburg & Quist, Montgomery Securities. And it was a model that was very expected. Then the market was so successful, it brought more money in. So the model could change. But suddenly you needed more money to start a company. You started needing $50 million, $80 million, $200 million. So the skill of not just designing a product, but raising capital became something critical of the CEO. The technologist no longer could be the CEO. And there was a big fight of how often CEOs were replaced by venture people, because the model was really broken. The technologist who really had the passion and the drive about the company was removed too early in the process to help bring in more money. We went through this huge bubble of the internet and a huge bubble of the optics market where vast quantities of money were wasted. The market during that time of the development of the internet changed from one where it had to be a business to business to a business to consumer, and then it became a consumer-to-consumer model. Well, if you use the internet and the communication devices that we have today, the cost of getting a product, a simple product, to another person, where they convey a check to you, has been reduced so that you don't need an entire business. You don't need $100 million. The whole wave of new businesses starting really allows for very efficient deployment of very small amounts of capital, which has opened doors for every type of entrepreneur to ask for $20,000, $50,000, up to $1 million or $5 million. But it didn't take that same polished, suited, male, attractive, tall individual to go in front of 7 people that looked exactly like him. I was one of the few women in venture capital, and I had 3 women partners by the time we left.
Wow.
And you know, you'd say that, oh, weren't my senior male partners so clairvoyant? They said, oh, we hired you guys. We thought you'd leave after 5 years to have kids. But we didn't. And we were there to support women entrepreneurs. And I can tell you this is a story of a very, very successful company where one of the women who was a senior vice president came in to do the pitch. And she was obviously pregnant to me and my partner. And we said nothing. The senior guys, we all decided to do the deal. And then I said to my partner, I said, I hope she sticks around. And I said, I know she will, but let's not tell the other guys because they'll worry about something they don't need to. So women in that day kind of had a support because there were very few women. There are now 100 times more women out there. But you have an advantage where you don't need to go ask for so much money. More importantly, there's a network of angels, successful women and successful men of color, men who now had their daughters enter the tech field, who are suddenly more open to funding a woman in technology. So it's a much different world today, and I think it's really there for the taking. And I encourage this type of meeting because you have a chance to build your network. And the great part about today's technology is you can keep your network very alive and very robust and build it very inexpensively. So good luck to all of you.
Forgetting all those expert forecasts that say oil use will grow so much or electricity use will go up so fast, look at the simple fact. About 500 million people on this planet, mostly rich people, have an energy-rich lifestyle, mostly in the Western world. At least 5 billion people on this planet want an energy-rich lifestyle. That's a 10x at least. And by the time we're done, it might be a 20x more need for everything. More oil, more electricity, more steel, more cement, no matter what you think about it. That's why almost all those expert forecasts are wrong about how much energy we need. We need a lot more than people think.
Move your body, baby. 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 Move your body, baby.
I mean, I think startups often, if you're making something valuable, and making something that people want, I think there's a lot of ways that it can succeed, even if there are other folks doing similar things.
Awesome, that's great. So that's a great lesson for everyone. Just because there are giant incumbents in the market space, that should not stop you from pursuing your dreams if you have a great idea, right?
Yeah, I mean, startups, people overestimate a little bit how often startups are killed by competitors. Startups usually die from self-inflicted wounds and making things that people don't want. And actually, Y Combinator, which was one of our first investors, their motto is make something people want. And if you do that, then there's a lot of different ways you can succeed.
I had a day job, and I would come home and I'd try to tutor them all and do these sessions. I would try to do these conference calls with more than one student. That got tricky. And I vented at a dinner party, and one of my buddies, Zuli, says, why don't you just record some of your lectures on YouTube? And I said, no, not YouTube. That's for dogs on skateboards. That's not for serious mathematics. But then I kind of went home, and once I got over the idea that it wasn't my idea, I decided to give it a shot, and I put those first YouTube videos up there. I think it was greatest common divisor, or least common multiple, and I started doing a bunch of them, 20 or 30, the same stuff that I was covering with my cousins at the time, and a couple of things happened, and I joke about this a lot, but it's absolutely true. The first feedback I got from my cousins was that they liked me better on YouTube than in person. And And I'm hoping it's only in kind of an education tutorial context, but it actually makes a lot of sense. They could pause, they could repeat. There's a lot to be said about human interaction. There's a lot to be said about kind of human mentorship, and I think they value that. They value the fact that their cousin, who was in Boston, who had a job, who was married, took the time out of his day to care about their lives. That definitely was a positive for them. But I could tell just from my interactions that the actual tutoring session was super stressful. When, no one wants to say that they don't understand. No one wants their cousin to feel like, oh, maybe Nadia isn't worth the time, or maybe she's wasting my time. And so all of a sudden they could do it in a de-stressed environment. And then when we had our live sessions, it was just really for questions. The other thing that happened is I started getting letters from people. I just randomly put it on YouTube. I remember that first time YouTube says, do you want to make these private or public? And I was like, I don't care, public. And other people started to watch. At first I was suspicious, because I told 4 cousins to watch the video, and like 6 people would watch it. And I was like, who are these 2 people that are watching my videos? I don't know if you ever saw Julia and Julia, where she wrote a blog, and she keeps refreshing it to see if people are watching. That was me in 2006. And
putting on my suit, getting ready to come here, and my wife says, what's happening today? I said, I'm going to the TaiCon event, and we're going to spend part of the afternoon with Salman Khan. And she dropped to the raced to the closet. What am I going to wear? You're coming with me? I said, no, the real Salman Khan, who will have more of an impact, I think, than the other one, right?
If you want a really if you want a really surreal story, so apparently Bill Gates did a search for Salman Khan. And he forwarded his entire organization, the other guy, saying, did you know there's another Salman Khan? And just the idea of seeing Bill Gates look at Salman Khan without his shirt on was a very dissonant, anyway.